For Body Chemistry Associates and Health Connection Radio, I'm your host, Nutritional Biochemist Jay Foster. We're coming up on Brain Awareness Week, and I thought I would give you some pretty exciting information on how you may be able to prevent Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's and other brain disabling conditions like that. And there are a lot of scientific articles that support what I'm saying. Back in, let's see here, in August of 2016, if you typed in Alzheimer's and antioxidant into PubMed, which is the research service of the National Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health, pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov. Back then, if you typed in Alzheimer's and antioxidant, you would find 5,363 articles. Today, which is in 2019, March of 2019, 6,853. So another 1,500 articles concerning antioxidants. Now, not all of these are nutritional antioxidants like E and C and resveratrol and glutathione and lipoic acid, because they're trying to develop a drug or drugs that will work like the natural antioxidants and see if they work also, because you can't make money on vitamin E, you can't make money on vitamin C, but you can make money on a synthetic drug. So there's a lot of articles, 6,853. Obviously, that's a key area of research. And back in 2004, there was an article, and I didn't get out of a hippie health food store journal. This came from the Archives of Neurology. Any self-respecting neurologist should have read this article. And the title is Reduced Risk of Alzheimer's Disease in Users of Antioxidant Vitamin Supplements. Not vitamins and food, but supplements. Archives of Neurology in 2004. The use of vitamin E and vitamin C supplements in combination, taken together, is associated with reduced prevalence and incidence of Alzheimer's disease. These antioxidant supplements merit further study as agents for the primary prevention of Alzheimer's. This is the Archives of Neurology, and there are many more in the Archives of Neurology that talk about E and C and other nutritional antioxidants. Now, were they taking scary doses of vitamin C and vitamin E to get this kind of effect? No. We recommend at least 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C for adults. They were only using 500, and they're using 400 IUs of vitamin E. So those are reasonable doses that have been around for a long time. A lot of people take that and more. You have to be a little careful with vitamin E because of its blood thinning effect, but these are minimal doses. Now, the people that took this, what kind of percentage reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's disease did they have? Was it 20% or 5% would have been good? 20% would have been great. 30%? Could you actually get 50% reduced risk? Well, users in the study had a 78% reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. This is in 2004. Now, how would you have liked to have known this back in 2004? This should have been plastered across every news channel, all the newspapers and everything else, but it wasn't. And that's the question, why wasn't it? People could have been doing something right then and right there, but they didn't know. So the good news is there's a lot more study going on, and I want to tell you why I think these antioxidants work. When we break down that 6,853 articles on antioxidants, again, some of them are experimental drugs, but many are vitamins. For instance, there's 1,426 on glutathione, 338 on vitamin C, 721 on vitamin E, resveratrol from grape skins, 341, and on glutathione, I said 1426, and alpha lipoic acid, 137. So all these different antioxidant components have their own studies, and it shows that it improves against the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. This is not a cure. This is prevention. But the good news is this prevention is with nutrients in relatively safe values. Even though the government says we only need 65 milligrams of vitamin C to prevent against scurvy, 500 milligrams is not an alarming dose at all. Neither is the 400 IUs of vitamin E that was in the Archives of Neurology. And since then, since 2004, there have been many, many more. There's another 1,500 articles on these different effects. Now, why do I think it has an effect on preventing Alzheimer's disease? Well, the neurotransmitters called catecholamines, like DOPA, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, or adrenaline, all can undergo what's called spontaneous oxidation. They can become free radicals without any help. They don't have to be acted on. They can just be sitting around. If you've got a lot of these neurotransmitters sitting around, they can themselves turn into free radical generators. And you have to think of a free radical generator as a guy with a little blowtorch that goes in to the brain and torches everything in sight. And that's how it destroys certain neurons that affect memory. And the same things in Parkinson's disease. So that's a lot of information that's out there that we're not hearing because, again, the drug companies all want to make $1 zillion on this. Just like when they were studying statin drugs to lower cholesterol, they knew if they got a statin drug, they'd make billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. The same thing if they're able to find a drug that prevents Alzheimer's disease. But I'm telling you, if it's an antioxidant, the natural ones work better because there are mechanisms to get vitamin C and vitamin E and these other nutrients into the brain chemistry to prevent the oxidation, the burning of the brain. Now, I said there was vitamin C, there's vitamin E, vitamin C and E in combination. Resveratrol. We call our resveratrol 1,000 glasses of red wine because in 2 capsules you would have to drink 1,000 glasses of wine to get that amount of resveratrol. And there's 341 articles that say resveratrol helps to prevent Alzheimer's. GlaxoSmithKline, the major drug company, saw this with the Canadian company that had discovered and was developing resveratrol. And they said it helped prevent Alzheimer's and heart disease and diabetes and a number of different things. So GlaxoSmithKline looked at their research and bought the company for $750 million. $750 million they bought this Canadian company, and their plan was to make one drug out of it for Alzheimer's prevention, one for heart disease, one for diabetes, and they'd make a mint. They'd make zillions of dollars. But when they tried to alter the resveratrol compound so that they could patent it, it didn't work. And they wound up selling the company, or the company went bankrupt, I forget, but they finally sold the company off because they couldn't make a drug out of this natural formula called resveratrol. And again, ours is called 1,000 glasses of red wine. Glutathione, there are over 1,400 articles about glutathione protecting the neurons and protecting against Alzheimer's disease. Very difficult to take glutathione orally and have it transfer into the bloodstream and into the tissues where it's needed. So intravenous glutathione is really good. Whenever I go for an IV vitamin C, I always have them push in some glutathione just for prevention. And by taking other antioxidants like E and C and alpha-lipoic acid and N-acetylcysteine, your body can build up glutathione. And the alpha-lipoic acid also is a very important compound to help prevent. And all of these have good, solid scientific literature behind it. You can search all of those with Alzheimer's and any of those other antioxidants in the PubMed.gov. So there's good literature about that. Now, what else can affect memory? Well, the next section on another blog will talk about protein, as we have before, and how important that is, and blood sugar and how important that is. But statin drugs have an interesting side effect, like Lipitor and Crestor and those others. Dr. Dwayne Gravelin, who's no longer with us, who was an MD, he was an astronaut in the Group 4 of Apollo program, and he never went to space, but he trained with the other astronauts. He was an MD. He was put on Lipitor because his cholesterol was high by his flight surgeon. He went out every year to NASA to get his physical, like a good doctor. And he put him on Lipitor, and he came back to Florida, filled the prescription. Within 3 days, his wife found him wandering around the garden out back, and he didn't know who she was. He didn't know who he was. He had suffered transient global amnesia. And the doctors all say, well, it wasn't a stroke, and statins don't do that. And he finally just said, well, that's the only thing I've changed. So he stopped it, and his memory finally came back. He told that to the Gradens, who did the People's Pharmacy, and they put it in their newsletter, and they had over 1,000 people that called in saying, yes, since I've been on statin drugs, I've also had memory loss. I saw it also on ABC Good Morning America, where they said they sent out a questionnaire or asked it on air, and they had over 1,000 people saying they had memory loss from statin drugs. Because statin drugs not only lower cholesterol, they lower the CoQ10 concentration in the heart, in the brain, everywhere. And so anyone who is ever prescribed a statin drug, if you're not prescribed CoQ10, run the other way, because that means the doctor doesn't even know how the statin drug works. Very important, if you do choose, and it is a choice, to take statin drugs, then you have to take copious amounts of CoQ10, like our Super Q gel, to make up for what the statins take out, because CoQ10 deficiencies can also affect memory loss, as again can blood sugar imbalances and others. A lot of people are now being misdiagnosed for Alzheimer's or early Alzheimer's just because they're on statins, or because the doctor never asked them, what do you eat for breakfast and what's your diet like? The good news is that by taking the right antioxidants, even if you have Alzheimer's in the family, and I think it's even more important if you have any Alzheimer's in the family, but everybody can take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 200 to 400 units of vitamin E, some resveratrol, like our 1,000 glasses of red wine, and some lipoic acid. There are nutrients that can protect your brain and your heart and your eyes, and they're very important to take now to prevent problems later. These things turn up over time. The good news is the nutrients do work. We test for nutrients to see what you really need. We test for toxic metals to see if they're involved. We have natural ways to control cholesterol, and we've been doing it for 37 years at Biochemistry Associates. If you'd like some more information on our programs and the formulations that we have, 1-800-CHEMIST, 1-800-243-6478, on the web, 1-800-CHEMIST.com. On our next blog, we're going to talk about moods and emotions and how they're affected by our diet, how that affects our brain chemistry as well. 1-800-CHEMIST, 1-800-CHEMIST.com. For Biochemistry Associates and Health Connection Radio, this has been your host, nutritional biochemist Jay Foster. We'll be with you again on another blog on Brain Awareness Week.